Web Summit, and a warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us, and we've got an exciting guest coming right up. Kimberly, take it away.
Hey folks, it's Kimberly Hobshed with the Passive Income Web Summit. Normally it's Entrepreneurs Rocket Fuel Web Summit, but today we are doing something really special called the Passive Income Web Summit. It is designed around the idea that we should set it and forget it strategies between now and when we are done with lockdown, so that when we go back to our regular lives and get busy again, we will have these streams of income pouring into our account that we will be able to take advantage of for days, weeks, months, and years to come. This speaker that we have up next, I know he is highly anticipated. This is Mikado, and he has a really special presentation for us, or we're going to talk a little bit about how to do Airbnb and make the most from it. Welcome, Hawk.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm super excited to share with the community and everybody on the summit.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad to have you here. I know a lot of people have been talking about this in our chat from the other conversations that we've had. Airbnb is really hot right now. It's a hot topic about like how, what's going on with it. Is it even viable right now with COVID going on? And so in talking to you, I had a lot of fun learning a lot about Airbnb and using the Airbnb with the strategy that you are using, which is very, very unique and very, very successful with very low vacancy and really a lot of profit behind it. Is that right?
Absolutely. We're probably one of the few people on Airbnb and anybody who's using the strategy as well, but we're part of a very small community that is actually not seeing a major impact from COVID. I think we only have one room that's was unoccupied, and it was only unoccupied for a short period of time. And that's it. So the rest of them have been fully occupied, and there's always a little bit of a gap between different tenants when they come through. But we use a loophole called the super rental loophole, something I discovered a long time ago, and I'll share a little bit about it today.
Awesome. So before we get into it, because I know that there are people on here who know, like they may not have even done an Airbnb. They may never have even stayed in an Airbnb. They may not really know much about it. So we're going to get a little bit of that first. But before we do, share with us how you got involved in this. Like, how did you get to be involved in Airbnb? What's your story behind the story?
Yeah, so this was about 2012, right after the recession happened, and my mom actually lost her job, and there was no jobs to be found at that time. So she had a job all the way through the recession, and we were about to lose the house that I had grown up in for the most part. And I was going to school up north and doing these like 2-week long, like really intensive school sessions. And I was staying in hotels, and I was paying about $1,500 to $2,000 per time for each time I was going up there. And my dad mentioned, he's like, hey, you know what? Like, I know you're running out of money. Like, you can't keep doing this. So I just heard about this thing called Airbnb. Why don't you give it a try? And so I stayed at this person's house, and I started asking him all these questions. And that was when I actually discovered how to utilize Airbnb. Now, there's all these people who use them for vacation rentals and parties and all that sort of stuff. We do not attract those people. So the system and the strategy that we use is designed to attract high level quality people who really just need a place to stay and are often willing to pay more than market value. So we see about 150 to 300% market value to what somebody would pay for a traditional rental. And because we're not dealing with we're not dealing with permits, we don't have to pay hotel taxes, which you have to pay if you do a regular vacation rental. We don't have to pay for damages. The average damage that happens on a house every single year is usually over $1,000. And so, I've been included in a part of all these other communities where they teach these strategies on Airbnb vacation rentals. And they're showing you like, oh, here's how it's profitable, but they don't ever include how much you're paying on taxes. They don't ever include how much you're actually going to see in damages, right? Like the average household goes through like 4 or 5 sets of dishes and pots and pans every single year if they're doing Airbnb, because people just destroy these things. And if you don't know how to buy them intelligently, and so that you're not wasting money there, but also attract guests who are going to respect the house rules, then you're going to see a loss of profits versus a gain in profits.
Well, thanks. I would agree. Like, I think I've been in some Airbnbs where they like have 3 plates and a pot with like no handle on it anymore because they've been in Airbnb for some time. And it's like people have just, like you said, destroyed their stuff. But you have a very unique approach to that where you're not having, you know, sort of like the nightly rental kind of thing. Is that right?
That's correct. We so in San Diego, so we have a property in San Diego and we have a property in Henderson, Nevada. Both of them are highly regulated and they both require permits. Now, because of how we have structured our Airbnb, we don't have to deal with the regulations. We don't have to have permits. We don't have to be inspected by the hotel department and all that sort of stuff. So we literally do not have to deal with any of that. And our average guest from Airbnb stays 3 months. So we make an average of $3,000 for every single room in our house.
For every
room.
Individual room?
Yeah. So in a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house, we're making about $4,000 in San Diego. And in Henderson, we're making, I think it's about 800 times 4 is, I can't do the math right now, 3,200.
All right.
In Henderson is actually probably way more profitable for us in the long run, just because our rent is basically $1,500. So half of that goes to paying the rent. And then we have some, utilities and cleaning costs and all that sort of stuff, but they pay for all of that. When there's a thing on there that says, hey, I'm paying for my cleaning costs. So we get to cover and basically recover all that. So we're making double what we are there, and we make about 50% extra on our rent here in San Diego. So it's amazing just being able to have it. And again, we have one guy he's now stayed for 2.5 years in our one room through Airbnb.
Wow.
And he's on a month-to-month rental. He's on a contract that keeps getting extended, so he doesn't know when it's going to expire. And the benefit to him is he's like, hey, I don't have to worry. It's month to month. I can just say, hey, I'm leaving, based on Airbnb's terms. And we've got, $1 million insurance policy through Airbnb. We've got, he's an amazing guest, right? He comes in, he cooks, he goes, stays in his room. He watches TV and works from his house right now. And then goes into work when he needs to do something specifically at work. And it's very low impact.
And this is a person who is staying regularly over time, and other people are coming and going during this time. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's one person in a room in the house, and there's 3 other rooms in the house.
All right. So, and what kind of access? I mean, I'm just curious now. Like, what kind of access do they have to like the refrigerator and stuff?
Yeah. So we have in the house 2 refrigerators. So each person gets half a refrigerator is basically what it is. And we did the same thing in the Henderson. So that's the San Diego house. In the Henderson house, we actually have 1 refrigerator. It's still a 4-bedroom. It's just a bigger refrigerator. So, but each person gets a section, and it's all labeled too. So it's very easy. Like, where you need to put your stuff, and there's no question about it.
Okay. So it's like did you say everybody gets half a refrigerator? Is that right?
Yeah, so in San Diego, everybody gets a half a refrigerator, and then in Henderson, everybody gets a quarter of a refrigerator.
Okay, so you get 2 fridges in San Diego, 4 bedrooms, and that's how it kind of works. All right, yeah. Awesome. And but then do they have like things in their own room where they yeah. I mean, it seems like it might be a fire hazard to be able to have like hot plates and things like that in their own rooms, or do they just?
No, they have full access to the kitchen. So everybody has full access to the kitchen, dining, living, and game rooms. So it's full access, and the backyard too as well. So they have basically all the common spaces are shared, and then each room is their own. Some people have a private bathroom, and some people don't. And that depends on how much they pay too, right? So the person with a private bathroom usually pays about 10 to 20% more than the person who has a shared bathroom. So right, you can adjust your prices based on that.
Okay. So when you are deciding to rent things out, like what do you do when you are looking at your potential tenants? Are you telling them that they need to sign up for 3 months at a time, or how do you attract those kinds of people?
A very well crafted sales letter.
Aha! So it's not just through Airbnb. This is like something completely different that's a bolt on. Is that right?
No, so we actually, the Airbnb, our profile is the sales letter. So it's designed. We've structured the entire the entire thing on Airbnb as a sales letter, and I've hit all the psychological triggers. Like most people know me as the funnel genius, right? And for the Airbnb community, I'm known as the super hoster. And it's just like everything I do has to do with marketing and sales, and how do you create that relationship through the copy on your page. And so the profile itself, each one of our listings is designed to attract a specific audience. Now, San Diego, we attract tech and biotech, usually engineers or people who are in the tech and biotech industry. In Henderson, we're attracting people who are in the health industry, who are, we had 2 physical therapists there over the last couple months.
So health industry is big in Henderson, or is it that you just happen to run across that group?
No, yeah, health is huge in Henderson. There's a huge number of people in Henderson.
And Henderson is like outside of Las Vegas by like 40 minutes drive. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the thing is like, so a lot of people, again, when you're calculating your profitability of a vacation rental, most people don't take into account the taxes that they have to pay, the business fees that they have to pay on top of that, and in structures and everything like that. And they also don't take into account the permits. So in Henderson, for instance, it's $2,400 per year.
Holy cow.
For us to have the permits, because there's 2 of us that are hosts. So because it's a co-hosted, right? I don't actually own, by the way, I don't own any of my properties. So I rent other people's properties.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Okay, so you don't actually have to fork out any of the cash for it. They're other people's properties, and you rent them out, and then you get like a percentage of it or something like that?
Yeah, so the way I structured it was basically, I'm still responsible. It's similar, the way I structured it, it's similar to a traditional rental. So I'm paying X number of dollars guaranteed to the person, right? Basically, if it's not necessarily guaranteed, but if we make $3,000 in the place in Henderson, I pay $2,000. If we only make $1,800, I make nothing, but they get the full $1,800, and I don't have to pay the difference. So
Okay.
There's a little bit of risk reversal for me there.
Okay.
But I know that their mortgage is $1,500. So it balances out for them there, and so they make on most months. Like I think this is probably one of the only months where we were basically at break even.
Right.
So I didn't make anything in Henderson this month, but it's it is what it is. At the end of May, we have another tenant going in, and we'll be fine. Plus, if I ever want to go, right, I just say, hey, yeah, I'm going to stay here, and here's the money for the rent for this month.
That's
right?
awesome.
And
That's
so
awesome.
It allows me to travel for free as well.
Ooh, I
most
like
of the
it.
time.
I like it. And then, so you actually can block it out if you had your own rental properties, you could block it out in your own rental properties, but you wouldn't necessarily need to.
Correct. And one of the key distinctions as well, and I just want to, we've mentioned it a couple times, but it's by the room.
Okay.
If you rent the whole place, there's a huge discrepancy in terms of how much you can make. So here's my I did the math on this, right? So if you've got a 4-bedroom, and the first 3 basically cover all of your expenses plus some profit.
Okay.
Then if you have one room that's not rented, even for a short period of time, it's usually not, you're not going to have that one. It's usually somewhere between like 10 and 20 days between rentals. And so we pretty much, it's like, okay, hey, like this month I'm not making $1,000 a month in profit. I'm making X number of dollars. And so, it's super, super simple that way.
Well, I like it. And you've figured out a way to to diversify your risk by renting out multiple rooms, because then, you know, some of them may be rented and some of them may not. So you've reduced the cost of your vacancy by a quarter. I know, 3/4. Like, that's really genius. I like that a lot. So, and then if you have somebody that's like comes into your property that's not treating it well, you can get rid of them, but then you have all the others covering it, and you have opportunity there as well. And wow, it's really fascinating. I love the way that you've orchestrated this. So tell me a little bit about the sort of that back end super hoster thing. So what's going on with that?
You're talking about the training program that I put together?
Yes.
Yeah. So after I don't know, this is about 7 years. I've been doing this for 7 years now. And at the about a year ago, actually, right now, my former business partner and I split, and I did some soul searching. And right before, probably about a month or two before this whole COVID thing, I launched this program showing people how to use it. Now, I know a lot of people have been kind of shy about it. I'm not sure if, you know, this is a good thing for them to do. But there are a ton of people on Airbnb, by the way, right now that are suffering. And if you went to them and said, hey, I'll rent out your place, then, right, and basically we'll take over the lease and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You can go through this process that we show you in our program. And we put together a really cool report, just kind of outlining kind of the story behind it, how we learned it, how we figured out what the strategy was, a little bit on the strategy. And then if you want a deep dive where we'll literally walk you step by step through the entire process from start to finish, we do have an entire training program that brings you through that process. Plus, if you go through the process, once you sign up for Airbnb, when you sign up as a new Airbnb member through us, we actually will send you a bed, because you have to pay for furniture. So we actually send you one of the items that we like, either a bed or a desk. You get to choose. So and that's like a $500 value, and that's because Airbnb pays us to basically to send them new people. So we just give that back because obviously, as a member of our community, we want to give to you. So that is only for people who are invited, by the way, to do that. So because you guys are here on the summit, when you go through the program, you'll get to have a conversation with the coach. Just mention that you joined through the summit, and we'll get you hooked up with that.
Awesome. So so the link that you have for us, is that for downloadable? What do we get when we get to the link?
Yeah. So it goes to the report, which is on the second page. So if you go to superhoster.com/PIW summit, then you'll get to download that report.
Awesome. So I just put that in the chat. Would somebody that's in the chat, can you grab that? Just make sure that you're able to get to that site and just give me a thumbs up, or a yes, it worked, or I totally love it, or thanks, Hawk, you're brilliant, or anything like that. That'd be totally awesome. Just so that we know that the link is actually working. And if it's not, yep, okay, we got one of them. Perfect. Thank you. And Hawk is awesome. Fantastic. Thank you. You are awesome. All right, perfect. So we have a question from the group that says, how many properties is he renting on Airbnb that he does not own versus how many he owns and carries a lease on? You don't own any of them, right?
I don't own anything. Awesome. I don't remember who it was. One of my mentors long ago was like, own nothing, control everything. And so that's what I do. I own nothing. Like literally, like if you like, the only thing I own, actually, no, I don't own anything. I don't even own these clothes.
That's not true. You might own the earpods. I like the earpods. Did you buy those?
Well, no, my company did. So I own nothing. My company, right? Because I have a brand, a specific, like literally I have 7 of these. Okay. I always wear the same shirt. I have the same pair of pants, the same shoes. I always, like, you could literally see me day after day. I wear the exact same thing. So anyway, this is a total side note. But yeah, I own nothing. I found that either I put it together into a company or a trust or something, so that I don't own it, but I do control it. Now, all of my Airbnbs are owned by other people. And so we have 2 properties. We have 7 units. So what that means, a unit is a room. So one of the properties, the owner lives on site, and they actually manage it and they clean it. So they get a little bit extra. and we take a profit. The other is fully empty, like there's nobody on site, and we have a cleaner come in once a month, and basically they just go through, and then if somebody leaves, we have that same cleaner come in and flip the room and clean the bathroom and all that sort of stuff.
All right, cool. So there's a lot to it, but if you've got it all orchestrated,
That's what's in the program.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why we structured it, because I got tired of answering all the questions. It's like, hey, look, I'm just going to put it into a nice, simple, easy to follow, literally step-by-step program. Plus, you get coached. So if you have questions, right, we come in and we help you. We help you with your script. So we actually give you a template, literally fill in the blank template, so you can write. It's so easy. Like I made it so that. By the way, I made it so that my VA in the Philippines could do this for me. And it's literally what I did. So I give him the thing. I also show you how to split test your properties. So you can split test pricing. You can split test your audience. I'm a marketer and a geek. So if I'm going over your head with a split testing.
This is so fun and so genius, because what he did, basically, he took a platform that's already up and working, and he made it like sensationally better by being able to like market behind the scenes, and everybody else is just kind of throwing stuff up there like it's Craigslist. And he's like, oh, no, we're going to make this work in spades. We're going to absolutely take advantage of something that's already working and make it work exponentially better for me.
Absolutely. So Airbnb is not like, I look at Airbnb as a marketing platform. Think of it like, this is how I think of it, right? If you were to look at Facebook, imagine if you were able to give Facebook, put an ad on Facebook, and you only paid them for money that you actually made, and it was like 3%. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, that's basically what Airbnb is, right? So I put my sales letter on Airbnb. Airbnb does all of my marketing for me. They even advertise for me. So if somebody's looking for a property in the area, like as I travel, sometimes I go to Airbnbs, and if I'm looking online, I'll start getting followed by their ads from others. It's like, oh, well, you might like this place, or you might like this place. So they do all of my advertising for me. They basically take care of everything. All I got to do is put up a sales letter and, multiple sales letters, and that attracts the right audience in.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So we've got some questions in the chat, and I want to address them, but I don't want to derail from what you want to talk about. So we are going to talk about and answer your questions. If you have questions for Hawk on how to do this, how to orchestrate it, just throw them in the chat box. We will get to as many as we possibly can. But separate from Airbnb, you have your company, which teaches about these sales letters and this strategy. Is that right?
That's correct. So Superhoster teaches people how to create their super rental business.
Awesome. Okay, great. So if you are ready to take this to the next level, or even if you're not, even if you're just curious and you're like, I got to figure this stuff out, this would be amazing. So not only, even if you don't have, like, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know if I have a free room in my house, or I don't know if I want people living in my house with me that are transitional, or all that kind of stuff. Like, that's been stopping a lot of people. But you figured out a way.
This is the best time to be getting into this, by the way. Like, just think about this. There are, and this is like, I'm not saying like take advantage of people, so please don't take it that way. Like, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people becoming unemployed.
Yeah.
Right. That's like, if you know somebody who's being displaced, or they're about to lose their house, or they're about to get kicked out, if they have an extra room in their place, and you can go to them and say, hey, look, I'll cover your base rent, and all I want to be able to do is re-rent it out. Most of the tenants are going to come through, and they'll be here for, a couple months to 6 months, and then they'll leave, right? That right there is just one of the most powerful ways. One, you get to serve and support your friend or family member, or somebody, maybe a business colleague. Second, you get to create a profit center. And if you want to go one step above, like say, hey, I'll split this with you, right? So I'll make it so that you get at least X number of dollars, then we split the back end 50-50, right? So if they need $500 in rent and you can make 1,000, say, hey, I'll guarantee the 500, and then we'll split the other 500 50-50, based on occupancy. And that's one of the best ways that you can serve and give back to the people, and grow your real estate and your super rental business without having to own anything. So it's really powerful.
I like it. And I like your message out into the world, because we are here in business to make a profit. We're trying to make sure that we can grow our business as much as we possibly can and be able to feed ourselves and our family, but we're not doing it at the expense of other human beings and trying to make their lives miserable. You're actually leaving people that you do business with in a better situation than they were before they met you.
Absolutely. One of our company tenets is partnership to profit, right? So create partnerships that allow both people to profit, and realistically all people. So it's every party, all the shareholders involved. So that means that you as the company or individual, the person you're doing business with, if it's in the partnership, and then the people that are being served on the outside, right? So that generally, even in the case of a rental, right? If somebody comes in, they would normally have to go in and sign a lease. If you're putting them up through the super rental loophole and giving them that opportunity while they're spending a little bit more every month, they don't have to sign the lease. They don't have to have that worry over their head in case, right? Especially right now, like there's so many uncertain times. Like this is a very uncertain time. Like you don't want to be signing a lease if you're like just coming in for a contract. Whereas if you're building a business around this, where you can attract these people who are looking to come in for a couple months, and they don't want to have to, put, a 6-month lease is usually basically the cost of an annual, like the entire year. It's insane. And we've tried to do it with traditional apartment buildings. It doesn't work. So unless you know the apartment owner. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. All right, so we have some people asking about location. Does it need to be near you? Should it be far away from you? Like, do you need to go by and check on it?
So you do need to put systems in place. So like the one in Henderson, right? I'm in San Diego right now. So I'm pretty far away. It's 300 miles away. We have the cleaners, and we have the maintenance people, and we have all of the systems in place that we need to be able to manage it remotely. So I don't need to be there to be able to manage it. That said, you should understand your market, right? One of my good friends does real estate training. And one of the things is you shouldn't go out and go into a market that you don't understand, right? You know your area. Why are people coming in? Is it because there's a big college in the area? Is it because there's big companies that are bringing in interns, or they're bringing in contractors? Is there a need for health, which is going to be an ever-growing need, by the way, everywhere in the U.S. Health is going to become one of the most prominent industries at least in our country, if not on the planet. So, right, you've got a huge opportunity in health. So we look to attract the right audience. And so those are just a couple of them. I think there's like 12 or 15 different audiences that you can really attract, depending on where you are, your regulations, permits required. So different areas require different things. The less regulations, the more audiences you can attract. So
I agree. Yeah, I can see that. And are you looking for that when you're doing your searches? Are you looking for what's your primary goal? Like, do you find, if you were going to find
I actually,
what would you look for?
I actually have I have to pull up the document I have a document for this.
Okay.
Properties. If I'm looking for a property, I will actually send this out to a, let's see if I can find it. It's in my members area. I know that. Let's see.
Somebody's asking while you're pulling that up, can we use apartment rooms? I don't know what that means. I'm guessing that it's just a room in an apartment.
Okay, so this is regulatory based. First of all, you have to know what the regulations of your apartment or HOA or housing associations or housing regulations, all that sort of stuff, right? So understand what they are. I actually rented a place. So we had properties, but I going back to the own nothing and control everything, is basically own all these, or like if you can have all these properties, you shouldn't actually live in them. You should go rent another place, because at the end of the day, you'll make more. And then anyways, so I had a property and we had an extra room. We weren't using it. It was going to be my daughter's room, but literally she was never in it. Now my landlord required that the person would stay there for at least 3 months. So that was the minimum that they could stay. And so when I put up the listing, I just said, you must stay for 3 months and you must sign a lease. Like that was in my listing. So we had a little clause in there that said, hey, right. And we put a couple checks and balances in to make sure that we were able to attract. And almost instantly, I had like 3 bookings the same day I posted it, by the way. Like 3 people were like, oh, can I rent it? Can I rent it? And we were thinking I'm like, hey, we got an office. Maybe we should rent that too. And then I can rent it. And then I'll just rent the office like down the street for like $1,000 and make an extra $500 because it was $1,500 was what we were making there. By the way, my entire rent for that place was $3,000. So if I rented both rooms, I would get to live there completely, well, not completely free. I had to pay utilities. So my rent would have been like $300 a month. So like just imagine that, like being able to do that. And does that answer the question? I got excited there.
No, it's awesome. I love your excitement, and I love having experts on that really, really know this stuff and are very passionate about it. So you're doing great. Like our audience is loving you, and you're answering all the right questions and feeding us so much information. There's going to be a ton more that they're going to want to know, but I'm going to give them a link so that they can engage with you a little bit further. We'll give your contact information so they can move forward. But would you be willing to come back maybe tomorrow and talk a little bit more with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Okay, great. We're going to hook that up. We're going to hook that up. That'd be totally awesome. Okay, great. So we're going to get you back to answer some more questions. So if your questions did not get answered today, definitely stay tuned. We got a ton of other experts coming on with all kinds of stuff, and we'll just get Hawk back on because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of passion that he has for it, and a lot of questions that need to be answered. Some questions, and I think you answered some of these. How do you get around the city laws legally? I don't think you are getting around them. I think you're working with them. Is that right? You're working with within the guidelines, but you're working like whatever their structure is, you're working it so that it's beneficial to you, but still within guidelines. Is that correct?
So we use the super rental. We use a super rental structure, which means that we don't do a vacation rental. So the only thing you need to know is what are the regulations on a vacation rental, and if you understand that, then you know how to use the super rental loophole, because there's basically like there's vacation rentals, and then there's traditional rentals, and then there's this nice gray area right in the center. And there's literally no regulations for it. So it's the only regulation is your HOA. That's literally the only thing that is potentially a regulation, is your HOA. And that's super simple. Usually, like I said, it's usually 90 days. That's usually the only thing that I ever see is like, oh, they have to stay for 90 days. Most of our guests stay for at least 90 days. So I've never had an issue with that. And so, yeah, it's definitely, it's this just beautiful gray area. I love it when there's gray areas. So.
I love it. Okay, great. Some people are asking, I'm outside of Washington, D.C. Is location important?
Location is less important than your market. So know your market, because it's all about who you need to attract, right? One of the biggest things, right? Split test your, right? You can split test headlines. That's one of the biggest things that you want to split test is your headlines. So if you've got 5 or 6 different markets, you can literally market to all of them, right? So if you're like, as you're getting going, you want to test as much as possible. So you make basically the same listing 5 or 6 different times if you have 5 or 6 different markets, and you just change the headline. So, right, I would say Students Haven, or like, right, I would just call out in the headline who it is, right? Attention business owners, or attention contractors, right? Things like that. Like I mean, it's kind of that same marketing strategy. Now there are certain things that you can and can't do. Like you can't even say COVID on Airbnb right now.
Okay.
So, but we figured out a way to make it so we could say COVID without saying COVID. And so we've been able to say, hey, we're COVID clean, right? We are following the laws, regulations, and our cleaners are actually certified as COVID cleaners by a third party company. So they had to go through like this super long training. It was like 4-hour training just to be able to clean houses.
Wow. Did you put them through that, or did they do that on their own?
Nope. We just our cleaner, the cleaner we had didn't go through that, and so they weren't actually able to do business. Their business got shut down. And so we had to find a new cleaner. And so it was just, and we have a resource as well that literally you just plug in what you need and you can find a cleaner. You get like 50 or 60 bids over a week. And usually, you say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. We have a very specific structure to that too. So literally everything I do, I give plug and play. Like I want it to be so simple that you could hand it to your VA in the Philippines or anywhere in the world. You could hand it to your child and they would be able to do this, right? That's my goal. Like is if one of our themes for this year, our main theme for this year is simplicity. So we want to make everything so simple that anybody can do it.
Fantastic. I love it. All right, cool. What else do we need to know? Like what other strategies have you come up with in the super rental piece that make it really much better and much easier for people to use?
I mean, it's all in the program.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us like what's in the program? Like share with us like what pieces you cover. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So there's a ton of stuff in there. So one of the biggest things that we show you how to do is one, get your property set up, right? Understanding all the core components that you need, really putting everything together. We have a step-by-step masterclass where we show you all of the different things that you need to do. The next thing is the toolbox. So that's all of it's the templates. It's literally everything that you could possibly think of. And we're always adding more stuff in there too. So you get checklists, you know how to get your house clean, like all of the different platforms, softwares, everything that we're using. And while we get probably 99% of our stuff through Airbnb up to this point, this year we've started to see new platforms come out. And so we've been actually implementing those platforms and starting to get tenants coming through these other platforms. By the way, we don't use VRBO. So a lot of people ask if we use VRBO. You can use it if you're doing whole house rental, and there is a time and a place when you would want to do that. And I discussed that strategy in the program as well. But the biggest thing that you want to understand are how to do it, how to set up your property, which we go through all the fundamental components of that. Literally, I actually have a bunch of videos that I've gone through other Airbnbs, and we record and go, here's why they're a super host. Here's why they're successful. So even if they're not following the super rental model, Airbnb has a badge basically that's called superhost. So being a superhost means that you've had a 4.9 or better star rating, you've been on the platform for a year, you've done over either 100 days rental or over 10 rentals total or more. And so we literally show you the fundamentals of how to set your property up for success. There's a ton more. There's workbooks, there's fill in the blank listing guide, the success library, which is showing you how to do that. Plus we have a community, you get a coach. We show you how to do it in a market that you can do for less than 30 days or 31 days. So in some markets you can do it for as little as 5 days. Usually we do 7+ days if it's an unregulated market. And with that, we show you how to basically take it. So while we have, right, like I said, we have times when it's like 10 to 20 days where we have nobody in a room. We can't rent that in San Diego, and we can't rent that in Henderson because of the laws, regulations, and permits. But if there were no permits or regulations in there, then we could implement this extra strategy and add in an extra, basically we can get almost probably about 70 or 80% of a month's rent in about 2 weeks time. So, right. So during that time, so we can get quite a bit of extra out of it. And I show you how to do the rental arbitrage. So how do you, like, what's the message I send? What are the exact things? And I'll share a couple of those things because I said I was going to pull it up and share. But like, here's some of the nice to haves. I'm not going to share all the must haves. Those are some of the things that I share in the actual program. But here are some of the things that I like to have. It's not a requirement, but based on the market that I like to serve with within our super rental business, I want a Whole Foods within 10 miles because they can get their groceries delivered to them through Amazon Prime. If I'm doing a rental arbitrage, if it's already furnished, that's even better for me. They're going to get a little bit extra, and I don't have to deal with basically going in and buying all of the stuff. And I actually personally look for places that are regulated, because especially newly regulated, because that means there's all these Airbnbs that are on the market that aren't able to get fulfilled on. And so that's those are the best places to be able to come in. So we, right before COVID, like right as this was all happening, we were about to sign on another place in Vegas because it's so profitable there. We ended up putting it on pause just because I wasn't sure how well it was going to perform. And it ended up being fine. So we probably would have been fine with it, but it was fully furnished. It was previously an Airbnb, and it had just been outlawed, and this guy doesn't know this strategy. So I was like, hey, I'll take it over for you. And so I show you that entire process, what to look for, how to actually go out and outreach to them. Like, what do you say to hook them in and be like, hey, like, here's how my business model works. Here's what I'm going to be doing. Here's how I'm going to make sure you always get paid your rent. And if you're interested in making extra and limiting my, mitigating my risk on the front end by not having to sign a lease, then here's how much I'll pay you extra. And so we show you all that. Plus, we actually, as you get set up, so even though Airbnb will not certify you as a super host, which is different from super hoster. We will, they won't give you a badge until you've met certain requirements. Once you've completed our process, we actually give you a certificate that says you are a certified super hoster through our platform. And you get a link, and all of your listings are on there so they can see them. And that way you get to add that bit of credibility to your super rental business.
I like it. All right, but you use Airbnb. You don't use other platforms like VRBO or Beachfront Only or any of those other places.
Primarily there's some other ones out there, but VRBO only allows you to do whole house, so you can't rent out an individual room. So that's why we don't use that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And part of the strategy and part of the diversification is to be able to rent it out by the room and then rent it out long term and not just those one night things. And then how do you keep track so that you make sure that people take good care of your property? One of the things we talked about right off the bat was like how to make sure that you don't end up with 3 plates that all mismatch. How do you keep track of making sure that people aren't wrecking your stuff?
First thing is, plates are going to break, right? Plates,
sure.
Cups, all that, they're going to break. We have a very specific formula, and you get the listing. Literally, I hand you a series of links that you can literally go in and you click a button in Amazon and it will purchase the entire room. So if it's an unfurnished room, you click, I think it's 2 buttons, the button to add the cart, and then you check out. And the whole thing is automated, and it comes to your door. That includes literally all the dressers, desks, your beds, everything comes through there. So it's like, hey, okay, something broke, okay, I gotta go order another one. We talk about strategies for mitigating that as well. So especially like towels, you know, some things are going to happen to the towels, right? So even though they get cleaned and bleached and all that sort of stuff, right, you're not gonna you're gonna need to replace them from time to time. So we talk about, you know, how to mitigate that and how to manage that, especially if you're not there, and there's nobody on site. It's like, hey, oh yeah, oh, you know, something happened to the towel. Don't worry, just throw it away and go grab another one,
Okay.
and then we'll ship a new one to the house. And you know, it's super simple like that.
Awesome.
So we have made it so that it's literally a no-brainer for like plug, play, implement.
That
And
is awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you for making it so clear and easy. I know that there's a lot of more questions that people have. If you want to know more information or you want to connect with Hawk, what's the best way for us to connect with you? If they want to do more, clearly you're the expert on this. If they want to be part of your program, how can they do the next thing with you?
Yeah, so go download the report at superhoster.com/PIW Summit. So Passive Income Web Summit, PIW Summit. And that will get you the report. From there, if you're interested in joining the program, you can. If you have any questions, you can send me a message on Facebook at m.me for messenger me /Hawk Mikado, HAWK MIKADO, and that will send me a message. And just please don't just say hi, say, hey, I saw you on the Passive Income Summit. I'd like to ask you a couple more questions, and I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Awesome. And he does, but he gets a lot of texts and they just say hi and like help him out, like help me help you, just a smidge, right? I mean, you're obviously a brilliant guy, and this is a lot of fun for you. You can tell like it's coming through your face, and your passion is so clear, and you figured this out, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm sure that people would love to be able to you know, ride a little bit on your coattails and find some of the fun in Airbnb, because it's this really cool new weird market, and you figured it out before lots of us did. So I'm really happy to have you here. Thanks for sharing so much with our audience. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we are at time, but before I let you go, I want to know, are there any last words of advice you have for our crew?
When you're looking for a way, like when you're looking to grow your business, to grow your passive income, like one of the biggest things is just look at how you can serve and support other people, because the more you do that, the easier it becomes to create passive income. It's like, I think one of the biggest things, like, you know, I'm a marketer, I can't speak for everybody, but like, you know, there's all these tactics and strategies and all that sort of stuff. But if you just come from your heart, you just come from caring and loving and sharing, like I give so much. And people ask me all the time why. Another one of our company tenets is content is a commodity, which is because, right, you can find everything that I share online, you can just find it online somewhere, but you'd have to dig for it. Now, if you want support, and you want to be served in a higher level and be walked through that content, that's how people should be interacting with you. So like, we used to give away things that people would charge thousands of dollars for. And I would get people sending me hate mail saying, hey, like, this is not cool. You're literally stealing business away from me. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just adding value to the marketplace in something that you feel like is worth something, but it's really just a commodity. Like, there are 1,000 other people who can do the same thing from you. And that is one of the biggest ways to scale and grow your business, because people will see that you care and that you're there to serve and support. And like, I can give content all day long. I've got literally hundreds of stories and thousands of hours probably of content that I could go into. I can do like days worth of this stuff and like deep diving and geeking out on all this sort of stuff. So like, just again, come from here. I know that was a long-winded way of saying, come from your heart and give, and you'll get more back than you give.
Awesome. Well, great message. I really appreciate that. Great send off. We are at time. Thanks so much for being here and carving time out of your day and coming in off the beach with your sandals to chat with us a little bit. And I really appreciate the time you gave us. All right, folks, we are at time and we have another one at the top of the hour. So I would say stay tuned, but it's actually another link you have to log on to. We will see you back at noon, my time, Pacific time. Looking forward to seeing you all back. Thanks, Hawk. We'll see y'all later. Cheers.
That was an amazing expert. We're here with Kimberly, who is the rocket fuel for entrepreneurs. She's on a mission to help you launch your business to new heights. Nobody lives out loud better than Kimberly.